think of it as energy medicine for the left brain. It allows us to use a physical substance, that remedy pellet, to give an energetic medicine. So we're treating the patient at the level at which we are all electromagnetic fields. So then the remedy is an electromagnetic signal to the cells of the body. Here's how you restore homeostasis.
Welcome back to the Crunchy Carnivore podcast. I am Melissa Weidenhammer, natural ring breeder and certified canine nutritionist, and I am here with holistic veterinarian Dr. Jessica Levy. And we want to welcome you to this episode. We're going to be talking about homeopathy. And I think this is, a lot of people don't know about it, first of all. And second of all, if you have heard of it and you're not super familiar with it, it's very confusing. You kind of don't get what it is, like you've heard of it. And so we really just want to break this down because that is the bulk of Dr. Levy's practice is based on homeopathy,
right,
and homeopathic philosophy. And so we really just wanted to bring some clarity to this topic. So a lot of times it can be referred to as like a pseudoscience, when in all actuality it is truly a system of medicine. And so I really want to bring some truth to that today. It's not just something somebody made up in a back room 10 years ago and we're just like winging it, right?
Right.
There's actual history and backing to this.
I think along the way too, like we've mentioned homeopathy in probably every episode.
Yeah.
And then the other day you were like, hey, we should kind of talk about what it is.
People probably don't understand it.
We do bring it up a lot. So.
We do bring it up a lot. And so it is important, if you're going to kind of link arms with us and learn some of the things that we're trying to teach, it really all does stem from the homeopathic philosophy and approach. And so I think we'd like to just start talking about the history of it, like where it came from, because it really does paint a much more, it gives it some legitimacy. Like it's not, like I said, somebody didn't just come up with this 10, 20 years ago. This has been around since the inception of pharma, like same amount of time. We're talking a couple hundred years. And it was basically developed by a physician at the time, Dr. Hanahmann.
Because you have to understand too, at the time, I mean, he was born in 1755.
Okay.
1755, there were cholera epidemics. The Inquisition was still going on. So witch burnings, all that fun time. Pre-electricity. And so he was kind of a savant. His father, I think, was a porcelain painter, and he ended up going to medical school and becoming a physician. And so one of the things they knew that Peruvian bark or quinine was an effective treatment for malaria. And one day he thought to himself, why?
Yeah.
And so he was translating a text. There was an issue with one of his own children a child got sick and died. He was unable to save him with the medicine of the time. And so he ended up becoming a medical translator. Like he kind of got fed up with medical practice at the time after that, big failure. And so he was translating medical textbooks for a while. And so the story is that he was translating a textbook from English to German, a textbook that was written by a doctor named William Cullen. And Cullen had made a statement in his book that the reason that quinine was effective for malaria, an effective treatment for malaria, was because of its astringent quality. And Samuel Hahnemann thought to himself, now that is BS. Lots of things are astringent that don't help malaria. So what is it about quinine? So he went and bought some top shelf quinine and started drinking it. And he found that if he drank enough of it, he developed symptoms of malaria. And then when he quit drinking it, his symptoms went away. And so that's where the idea of like cures like comes from, because he was like, oh, there's something to this. At the same time, they used to use belladonna, our nice toxic plant, right? Belladonna is deadly nightshade. They used to use belladonna to treat scarlet fever because a lot of people died of scarlet fever. There was no treatment for it. So belladonna poisoning produces similar symptoms in its toxicity that are similar to scarlet fever. So your face flushes, your eyes dilate because The poisonous plant contains atropine, so your eyes dilate, your cheeks flush, your lips flush, your heart palpitates when you have scarlet fever, as well as belladonna poisoning, and then you die. And so the physicians at the time, they knew of the toxicity symptoms, and so they were trying to use a tincture made from the plant or a tea made from the plant to treat people who had scarlet fever, but they died. And so he tried diluting it because he found that even if he only gave a drop of the tincture, it was still toxic. So then he just thought, like, well, what if I dilute it? And he found that if he diluted it to a certain extent, it would cure his patients of scarlet fever without killing them. And I think also, like, this was a time in the world where, like, people were not going to make it to the moon during the late 1700s.
Sure.
It was like people were just trying to stay alive. If you think about Europe during this time, this was where, like, I think in like medieval literature, everybody drinks ale all the time, and the reason they did that was because the water wasn't safe to drink, and so people drank ale, which meant that people were kind of drunk all the time.
Oh wow!
They were not super functional, and they died young.
Oh geez, well,
like if the ale didn't get them, the cholera got them.
Sure.
Like it was not a great time in human history, and so he had this capacity of being able to think. Why is this like this? Why does this work? What would happen if I did this? When there was not a lot of exploratory thinking. Like nowadays, we're kind of used to people, like we're all well-fed and comfortable and happy, and it's easy to come up with new ideas when you're like that. Whereas if everybody's just trying to stay alive and avoid the Inquisition, then it's like your thinking is not so novel. You're just thinking about how do I make it to tomorrow kind of thing. So he was able to come up with these ideas and then test them out.
So that brings us to the provings, which I found this was one of the most impactful things for me when I was learning the origin of homeopathy. Like I already loved homeopathy. You had helped me learn how to use it to a certain degree. So I already had an appreciation for homeopathy, but I didn't know where it actually came from and how it was developed. And so the idea of him, the way he did these provings, he would literally take healthy people. So he'd already come up with these ideas and these concepts.
And he was back teaching at medical school at this point. And so the healthy people were his students.
Oh, that's great. Volunteers. But he would take healthy people and he would use different substances and they would take it every day for a month, you said, right? A month. And he would have them journal every single possible thing that they were experiencing, feeling, like in every way, not just physically, but emotionally. Did they feel cold? Did they, did they all of a sudden were they not fond of being in the dark? Like all of those interesting things that these people would notice as they took these substances regularly, daily for a month. And he would take those journals and what was documented, and that's how he developed the Materia Medica, basically, which is the Materia Medica is just kind of the encyclopedia of homeopathic remedies and the list of the symptoms that were recorded with those substances, so that in the concept of like cures like, what is the patient experiencing in every way, shape, and form in the whole person, not just in their stomach or in their respiratory, like all encompassing. And then you really hone in on the right remedy because there's all these different things that were documented. It's just fascinating. And that way, that's how you can accomplish so much healing or improvement at times with one remedy because you're taking everything into consideration. So he did this, and then when you look up and you read the Materia Medica to realize the amount of tenacity that it took, like it is a lot. It is a lot that he went through and documented. Very thorough. He was brilliant. I mean, he really was brilliant and did think very much outside of the box for his time. And a lot of other, what we would coin the term conventional physicians at the time did not like him because of what he was doing. And they probably thought he was crazy and all the things, but he was actually very, very smart.
He made them look bad too.
He made them look bad.
And so when it came to something like cholera epidemics, and imagine trying to treat people with cholera when like you have a whole village where people are falling sick one after the other. There's no running water. There are no toilets. There's no there's no washing machine. And so like trying to treat people in that scenario where people are effectively lying in their own waste. Again, there's no running water. You can't just run to the sink. You can't wash your hands. And so the homeopaths had way better success than the conventional doctors when it came to cholera epidemics.
Interesting.
So that was like the scenario into which homeopathy was born as a new science. And so one of his most faithful pupils was another physician, Constantine Hering, who went to study from Hanahmann with the purpose of debunking him. Like he was going to prove.
Oh, I didn't realize that's so funny.
Yeah,
okay.
I
didn't realize that.
He was going to prove that this was nonsense, and he ended up becoming a big fan. And Constantine Hering was the physician who brought homeopathy to the New World.
Okay.
And then through observation developed the laws of cure.
The laws of cure, which if you've listened to previous episodes, we talk about the laws of cure.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the birth and then development of homeopathy. And along the way, Hanahmann also developed talk therapy.
Really?
Yeah, because up until then, what they did with insane people is they chained them up and made fun of them.
Oh my goodness.
And sometimes beat them to death.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because I mean, it was
a brutal time.
It was a different time.
I mean, it was a very different time.
And so another one of his patients, this was one of his patients, who, somebody's going to remember his name because I can't think of it right now, but who also became a very successful homeopathic physician. And he was cured of madness by Hanahmann, basically utilizing some form of talk therapy and talking him out of his madness.
That's amazing. Didn't know that part of Hanahmann.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, he thought of all sorts of stuff. So that was kind of how he got started. So the book that he wrote, the like how-to of homeopathy, is called The Organon of Medicine. And eventually he actually wrote 6 editions. So from the very first one that he wrote, he revised it 6 times.
Oh my goodness.
Up until he died, I think at age 88. He lived a good long time. And his second wife was way younger than he was. She was also a successable homeopath.
Interesting. So you said Organon is how you say it. This was written by the one that Hanahmann helped come out of madness?
No, Hanahmann wrote it.
Oh, Hanahmann did write the Organon. Okay. So, got it. Well, so what's interesting about this too, that it, another reason that this may be less familiar for people, the homeopathy in general, is because there was a period of time where it actually went extinct in this country. It really seemed to catch fire for a while. There were physicians that grabbed onto it. They were using it as preventative medicine with homeoprophylaxis very successfully. And this went on for quite a while until the Flexner Report, from my understanding. So the Flexner Report, again, we've talked about that in one of our foundation episodes, was basically when Rockefeller and Carnegie sent out somebody to vet all of the medical schools and anybody that was not promoting pharmaceuticals and things like that, aka natural medicine schools, like schools for homeopathy, were defunded, and then they were basically shut down and extinct within about a decade. So by the time 1920 got here, you couldn't find homeopathy in the U.S.
Right.
It basically went extinct until it kind of was kept alive in India. Then it kind of came back in England, I think, with the...
It went from England to India.
England to India. I had it backwards. Okay, right. England to India. And then eventually in the 70s, homeopathy started to come back to the United States. But it has been regularly practiced for hundreds of years. So what's really interesting is now that it's been since the 70s. I mean, that's 50 years ago. Why is it still so hard for people to know about it? Why haven't people heard about it? Well, because it's suppressed. That's why. It is very effective. It's non-toxic. It's a wonderful system of medicine, but it doesn't make money, and you can't patent it. And so
Yeah.
There we are.
And the remedies are cheap and they're easy to make if you need to make them yourself.
Yep. So yeah, just the history of homeopathy is kind of fascinating. It is a wonderful system of medicine. It was developed in a very brilliant way, with very solid. I mean, I love the system of how he created it. And it is very effective. So I think, Dr. Levy, if you could enlighten us now too, like what. So we know that it, you know, kind of where it came from. There was a period of time we didn't have it. Came back in the 70s, so we've got about 50 years where it's been here. What does modern day homeopathy look like as far as education, people that are doing it and practicing it? Like, what does it kind of look like at this point?
Well, there are a few schools in the U.S., and there are, I think, at least a couple in England, maybe one in Ireland. India still has homeopathy schools, and it just kind of, you know, depends on how it's used. In modern day America, homeopathy tends to be very psychological, so more like talking to a therapist, and maybe the remedy is based more on your emotional state, etc. Whereas in India, where there are these large practices that see hundreds of patients in a day, and it's kind of like, you know, Grand Central Station. And so those are perhaps more based on the physical symptoms. And so if you go online and you're like, oh, my dog was just given blah, blah remedy, I'm gonna look it up. And so what you'll find mostly is a very heavily psychological description, but those are not necessarily the symptoms that we are using to choose the remedy for your dog. When I did the veterinary homeopathy course, Dr. Pitcairn told us, like, really, we cannot pretend to know what a dog is thinking or understand their motivations. You know, people say this stuff all the time, you know, oh, you know, he was mad because I left the house, so he peed on my bed. Well, dogs probably don't work that way. They probably have different motivators than humans. You know, we're spiteful, horrible creatures, but dogs probably not. And so that's where, like, choosing a remedy for an animal, you probably rely less on the psychological symptoms and more on the physical symptoms, basically.
Well, and I can say, you know, from getting more into this over the years, that does make it tricky sometimes, you know, especially because we're all about, you know, trying to help people do more animal care at home. And you have your big homeopathic remedy kit, which we recommend everybody should have one. They're fantastic. Get yourself a good homeopathic remedy kit. We'll link a couple of things below about where to get a good kit. But have them on hand, and you can do a lot with just that. But it can be tricky. You know, you can be having an issue, and then you go to look up, you know, top remedies for, you know, I don't know, what did I just deal with? Ear infections or whatever it is. And it gives all of these, like, how they're feeling emotionally or how they respond to cold. And you're like, I don't know. Like, how am I supposed to know for my dog? But what happens is you learn to not get lost in that, and you just start to hone in on the things that you can pick up on. And this just happened with the two of us. I was struggling with Willow, and I was like, something's not moving through. Like, how do I know? And you're like, well, what are all the different things? You know, is she extra thirsty? Is she this? It's just like, oh yeah, I could think about those things. But when I looked at the remedies initially that came up, I was like how am I don't know. I don't know her emotion. She's not a child. I can't ask her. Right. You start to learn when you look things up what to hone in on and the things that you can observe. And you do, that's the thing about holistic stuff and the holistic approach, which we keep talking about. You do need to become more observant. You need to be patient. You need to watch. What can you pick up on? That takes patience and just observing. So
yeah, and it's hard when it's your own pet, because you have to kind of distance yourself a little bit and think about them in a little bit of a clinical way. Yeah. And so a lot of times I'll ask people, like, you know, did you take your dog to obedience class? And then the reason I ask that, like, I'm not checking to see, are you a good pet owner? I'm asking because that's a stressful situation, and it's helpful to know. Like I said, we can't look inside Fluffy's mind and say, so Fluffy, how do you feel about your life? Yeah. But we can say, this is how she acted at puppy class. Some dogs will say, I don't even know why we're here. I'm ready to go now. Some dogs will hide under your chair the whole time. Some dogs are like, I just want to play with everybody. Why do you keep trying to tell me what to do? And some dogs are like, yes, master, I'm on board. And so, like, those things give us a little bit of insight into their personality without telling ourselves a story, without making things up about the dog, we can say, this one does not like to go outside in the yard by himself after dark. This one, she will only pee in her own yard at home and won't pee anywhere else. So it's like, if you think about your dog a little bit differently, like the things you actually do know about them, versus trying to say, because usually what people say is, well, I don't know why she does it. That's okay. That's okay. Because we're not going to be able to answer that, because again, we can't.
It's just noticing what they do.
Exactly.
Not necessarily understanding why.
Right. Yeah. And then get rid of the backstory. Well, she came from a rescue and the people said that she had been treated like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Everybody's
what are
going
you
to have,
seeing?
Yeah, everybody's going to have an individual response. So, you know, some people grow up in unfortunate circumstances and, you know, become geniuses and inventors. And some people, you know, some people don't. Some people waste their lives. And so, you know, that part of the story doesn't really matter.
So how is this kind of like, so it's kind of being used more psychologically or emotionally in the States, is what you're saying, versus in other places where it's a much more common form of medicine, system of medicine. They're just like, oh, this physical symptom, that, and it's more like you're prescribing a little less. There's not as much kind of psychological thinking about it. It's just, it's a little bit more quick. So how is it like the variety of applications that homeopathy can be used for? I think it took me a long time to realize how many things you can use homeopathy for. So what would be, can you give some good examples of just like the variety? It's more than just a bee sting, right? Or, oh, I strained a muscle, I want arnica. Like, get us outside of that tiny little box, because homeopathy is capable of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I use homeopathic remedies much of the time and homeopathic philosophy all the time.
Right.
And so really it is, you know, it can be used for anything. I treat a lot of itchy dogs, of course.
Sure.
I treat a lot of dogs with cancer. And with anything that you use homeopathic remedies for, it's not a matter of this or that. So you don't have to say, well, I can't give a homeopathic remedy because the dog's on prednisone.
Oh, right.
It doesn't matter. I treat cancer patients whether or not they're going through chemotherapy, whether or not they're doing any other kind of treatment, because the homeopathic remedy is unique. Homeopathy, these remedies that we use, so we don't use drugs in practice, we use medicines that are called remedies. These are electromagnetic frequencies. The way homeopathic remedies are made, it's not just the dilution factor, but they are diluted to a great extent, past the presence of molecules. And so now you're in the realm of the electromagnetic spectrum, right? So part of the spectrum that we're familiar with is the light spectrum.
Sure.
But there's a whole lot of electromagnetic frequencies out there, and that's where homeopathic remedies exist and operate. So it allows us, I think of it as energy medicine for the left-brained. It allows us to use a physical substance, that remedy pellet, to give an energetic medicine. So we're treating the patient at the level at which we are all electromagnetic fields. So then the remedy is an electromagnetic signal to the cells of the body. Here's how you restore homeostasis. Because our bodies are trying to do that all the time.
So really quick, I just want to make mention of this. So if you have not used homeopathy before, we're not going to go way into how remedies are made, but it is basically a solution of a substance that's been diluted down, and it is coated over sugar beads that are referred to as pellets. If it comes from, disease matter, that's going to be your nosodes. And then if it comes from a vaccine, it's going to be tautodes. So it just depends on what the matter is that was diluted down, what you call the remedy.
Right.
But it's basically, it's a solution that's put over sugar pills, and then it is administered typically through the mouth, under the tongue. If you're dealing with, very tiny puppies or infants, like I have a grandson now, we dissolve it in water and, administer just a little bit that way. And that way that we can get the remedy in, on their gums or under their tongue or whatever else. So that's just a very quick description of how homeopathic remedies, like what they are and like how you would use them, just for those who have never seen it before.
Yeah, and it's quite a process. Like, people say, well, how long would it take to go through homeopathic education? Kind of forever.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a lifetime endeavor. I'm sure there are quick courses online. There's a couple of really good books that will attach, that will kind of help you get started. And maybe it's just a matter of buying some arnica one day and then using it the next time you stub your toe or slam your hand in the door or something like that.
And our goal is obviously with our education to create curriculum that is a homeopathy. We're just not there yet. But I will say my daughter is actually really, and she loves homeopathy, and she's really good about observing and using remedies. She's kind of gifted in observation. She just is. But for part of her homeschool curriculum for the last year, she got to pick an elective, and she was like, let's learn homeopathy.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I believe we actually found a really good course that was very inexpensive through Dr. Will Faulkner on homeopathy. It's not, a certification. It's not this huge thing, but it's just a very good introduction to it. So that'll be something that I can link below too. Dr. Faulkner is great. We love him. And until we can have our own stuff, that's a good recommendation.
Right, and then there's always the question, what remedies to have on hand. Well,
Oh my goodness.
You never know what you might need.
Yeah,
and
that's why a kit's a great start.
Yeah, so a kit is a great place to start. It's
Yeah.
not going to have every remedy because honestly, there are about 4,000 homeopathic remedies to choose from, and that's not including the ones made from drugs and chemicals. And so there's no point in really trying to have everything unless you're a collector of things.
Well, and then you have all the different potencies of each remedy, and you would drive yourself crazy trying to do that.
And so, most health food stores, like the real health food stores, like co-ops, they'll sell the 10 or 15 most commonly used homeopathic remedies or most commonly requested. So that's an easy place to get started, is just to go visit your local co-op and kind of have a look at the homeopathic remedies that are there.
I have to give this disclaimer right now. Do not get them from Amazon.
Yeah.
Do not get homeopathic remedies from Amazon. You need a trusted pharmacy, a trusted source. Amazon is not the place to get your remedies. So we'll link a couple of good resources below where to get remedies. Some of them will have kits. It's a really good way to get you started, and just whether it's just for pets specifically. I liked having one big first aid homeopathic remedy kit. My daughter, who has my grandson, has that, and it covers a lot though. It covers a lot. Every once in a while I have to order some that are different potencies, or I don't have one, but those big kits are pretty great. So let's just discuss really quick, kind of as the last part of this, let's talk about the philosophy. The philosophy is the backbone of all of this, and everything that we do and teach is based on the philosophy of homeopathy. So, Dr. Lee, why don't you take it away? How do you want to break that down?
So homeopathic philosophy is not just giving remedies, or instead of this drug, I'm going to give a homeopathic remedy. Homeopathic philosophy is really observational understanding of health and disease, right? So health and disease exist on a spectrum, and the way we tell if our patients are getting better or worse, we're looking at where they are on that spectrum between health and disease. So sometimes we do have those one-hit wonders where you take the homeopathic remedy and the next day you are all better, and you throw away your crutches and you get up out of your wheelchair and there's angels singing and a pot of gold. And
it feels like that.
Oh yeah.
It feels like that when you nail it.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens. If the remedy is exactly spot on and your body is exactly in the place it needs to be to receive that remedy. So sometimes that does happen, but a lot of times when we're treating chronic illnesses, it's a bit of a process to dig yourself back out of that hole. So part of what we look at is the Hering's Law of Cure, which we've talked about before. So it's just a quick way to explain what we look for on the way to healing. Because a lot of people are wondering, hey, my vet just gave my dog a homeopathic remedy. What's supposed to happen? What am I going to see?
Sure.
And so things that we look for. So Constantine Hering, again, he was the student of Samuel Hahnemann's who brought homeopathy to the New World. And through observation, he determined that disease heals in some very specific directions. From the top down, so literally from the head with all your super important sense organs, your brain, all that important stuff that's going on in there, down the body. From the inside out, inside you have really super important internal organs that you want to keep. and the disease will move from the inside to the outside, aka the skin. And then sometimes you'll see reappearance of old symptoms, and that is quite common. Theoretically, ideally, they would reappear in the same order that you had them before. And so, for example, one patient who I treated, a human patient, she had eczema as a child, asthma as a teenager, and then later in life was pre-diabetic. She had more significant, worse symptoms, essentially. And also her home life was kind of a wreck. So that's also part of the picture. So you could say, well, and through the process of cure, she should redevelop asthma for a short period of time, then the eczema should show up again. Sometimes it happens in that order, sometimes not so much. But we do look for reappearance of old symptoms. Let's say you're treating a dog with severe itching and the dog's face is inflamed and it rubs its face on the carpet and on the couch and scratches at its ears and everything is going on up here. Through the process of homeopathic treatment, you would expect the head to clear up. And then the owners say to me, well, it's not on her head anymore, but it's all over the back of her neck and on her shoulders. Good. It's going in the right direction. It's going down the body. Or the chest and belly will clear up, but now it's all over the inside of the thighs. It's still going in the correct direction. So the laws of cure are something that we see observationally. The next thing that we talk about in homeopathy is the minimum dose. So basically you want to give the least amount of remedy necessary to keep things moving. Remember, the homeopathic remedy is like a stimulus to the cells to remind them, oh, here's how to fix things. Here's how to fix things. Of course, nutritionally, you still have to give like the nutrients that your body needs to make those repairs. So continuing to eat at McDonald's every day while taking homeopathic remedies is probably not going to work so well.
Also, continuing to give your dog kibble rather than fresh food, same concept.
McDonald's is, kibble.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the concept of like cures like. So some of the remedies are made from things that are very toxic, whether it's poisonous plants or arsenic or snake venoms. And so we know what that kind of toxicity looks like. And so that picture of symptoms is something that specific homeopathic remedy will treat. So apis, for example, that is made from bees, can be used to treat bee stings, but it also can be used to treat things that look like bee stings, so things that are bright red and shiny and swollen and itchy and painful. So those kinds of things also fall into that same category. And then what we look for after giving a homeopathic remedy is now we're peeling our eyes open and keeping a lookout for signs of detoxification. So taking a homeopathic remedy is not the same as doing a detox, but the homeopathic remedies will promote detoxification. As your body heals, your cells, in their move towards homeostasis, they will start to discard waste products. Well, you don't want that stuff just kind of boiling around in your body. You don't want it just circulating. You want to see it coming out. And so that's where we're looking for the eye boogers, the more wax in the ears, the wax liquefying and really starting to come out, a skin rash arising after remedy. Same thing, your body is pushing stuff to the surface. And so those kinds of things are not alarm bells. They're symptoms that we're looking for to say, aha, things are moving. We're looking for a change. Sometimes you give one remedy and bam, you're home free. There's your change. Again, you wake up the next day, everything's perfect. And sometimes it's like you give this remedy, things change. Now the picture looks different. You give a different remedy, things change. Now it's different. You give a different remedy. So sometimes healing goes that way too.
And so this is, we're kind of touching on this concept again. It can be very, one of the harder things, we've talked about this before, to look at symptoms as a good thing, not a bad thing, because in the conventional world, a lot of these things that we're talking about are looked at as problems that need to be stopped and fixed. And so when you're trying to do things naturally for the first time and then you start seeing this stuff, you're like, well, now I got to bring them to the vet because now I got this. No. This is, the symptoms are a good sign. They're showing you that things are moving and happening. And sometimes it's going to look like what the conventional world would call a problem to be fixed or a disease. Like we've talked about that. They look at the ear infection as the disease. They don't think, oh, what's the underlying cause that's causing the ear infection? They just look at the ear infection as the problem when it's actually a detox mechanism. Like you're seeing detoxification trying to happen. So again, we're going to keep touching on this until, maybe it just takes one of these things that we're talking about in the right way to get it to click. Start looking at symptoms as progress, not problems.
Oh,
Do I need to write that? Is that a new bumper sticker?
I think so.
Okay.
I want that t-shirt.
We'll make t-shirts.
Okay, that's a good one.
All right. So yeah, I just wanted to make mention of that. So just again, it's shifting that perspective. It's the paradigm shift when you're used to seeing an ear infection and you're like, no.
Right. And so that's why
we use ear infections a lot as an example. We probably overuse that, but
and so I know I've gotten remarks from some of my clients like, they'll say, oh, now this is happening to Fluffy. And I say, oh, good. And they're like, darn it, I knew you would say that. But to some respect, symptoms are good, right? Our bodies are doing everything they can to clear out the junk and keep us alive, and we're on board with that.
Yes.
So.
Yep. We like to support that process.
Yes, indeed.
So I think we'll just kind of bring it to a close. Hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit better picture of how homeopathy works. It's a big topic, but we at least wanted to address it to a certain degree to show you kind of where it came from and the kind of the ebbs and flows of how it's been used. And it is a system of medicine that is very effective. There's actually a lot of resources, as much as people will say it's not science backed. There's studies.
There's actually a lot of research.
There is actually a lot out there. I think it's just kind of a cop out when people use that. So there is plenty of it, and even in the animal world, and animals are great to use it on because they can't fake stuff. They don't fake stuff.
Right.
Kind of like small children. So just to kind of wrap this up, to sum up homeopathy, I would like to take just a little excerpt. One of my favorite books. I talk about it probably every time we talk about homeopathy. That's how much I love this book. So for those of you that are watching, I'm just going to hold it up. For those listening, it is called Homeopathy Beyond Flat Earth Medicine. It is by Dr. Timothy Dooley. And he just sums up homeopathy like this. He says, true healing, natural recovery from disease cannot be forced. It's a process in which a person attains a higher level of health and the disease resolves itself naturally. This is what homeopathy is all about. And that is what we love to see happen. And that is the process that we support and that we really want to try and work with. So hopefully this is helpful little tidbits on homeopathy, and we're nowhere near done talking about this. I can tell you that right now. We've got a lot to share with homeopathy, and we're going to figure out ways to enlighten more with that. But I think that's all we have for today. Any final thoughts, Dr. Levy, about homeopathy?
I think that's pretty much it. Like when we make recommendations, when we talk about treatments for a variety of illnesses or symptoms, this is where we're coming from.
These principles and concepts. So highly recommend this book if you are interested in homeopathy at all. It's a very short read, but I just love this book. So we'll link that below. Until next time on the Crunchy Carnivore podcast, thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Our goal is always to encourage others to seek out the holistic approach by way of education and empowerment. You can check out our online resources at wellspringhaa.com. You can follow us on our YouTube channel, Wellspring Holistic Animal Academy, and you can also find us on Instagram at wellspring_HAA. We hope that this has been helpful and that you continue with us on your journey to holistic health for your pets. As always, we're here to be unapologetically all natural.